Hello.
Hello and welcome back to the SWAN pricing show. My name is Filip Vucic. I'm a pricing mentor.
I am Philip Zoloto. I am the business mentor.
Today, we want to talk about the exact steps to a process of raising your price when you're a SWAN, when you're a, service provider where the service is based on expertise or expert SWAN, as opposed to duck, as opposed to commoditized services, right? Yeah, the rest. And I think what we talked about in the pre-show, the main difference is you don't find out what your price should be. There is no your price should be this, because if we're in the duck world, this is what banking costs. This is what moving services cost. This is what restaurants charge. And yes, there's multiple stars of restaurants, this and hotels. I meant Michelin stars. But there's a should, right? But I don't think in our world there's a should. Your coaching should cost this. Maybe there's a minimum, sure, but there's no maximum, not really. So there's coaches that barely make it to a livable wage or get subsidized by their spouses. I've met those, and also there's people who charge $20,000 a day and pick you up with their helicopter, which they drive, a real thing. I think David C. Baker. So there's this huge field what coaching services could cost, right? Or consulting services or whatever. So I think the right question is what your price could be, not what your price should be. So that's a significant mind shift, I think. And there also, when I say you don't get to find out, it's not written somewhere, and if you just Google hard enough, you will actually find the answer. Or if you just know math enough, you will have it there presented in front of you. It's in all of its naked glory. No, you don't calculate this stuff. And in the duck world, you do calculate stuff, right? Because you can know things for sure, and this is what people usually pay, and these are the costs. What are our costs? Now, if you employ people, sure, but even if you do, there's a huge leeway in saying, this is just one project. I would have this office even if I didn't have this project. So is my office cost here or not? I mean, I could apportion it, but I also don't have to. It's just nothing is clear, so you don't calculate. So, okay, let's talk about what you do, not to dwell on the things that you don't do. Firstly, it's important to look at market trends. That's true, and I don't mean other people's prices, and I don't mean other people's prices because it's not really clear what other people are, right? Other coaches, there's coaches and there's coaches, right? Other coaches that coach like you, well, how many years of experience do they have? What background do they have? Where do they live? So I mean, I personally shocked a few people a few years back with my prices that seemed high to me, but in some places in the world are just, suspiciously low. Yeah. So I'm guessing that happened to you as well. But so looking at the prices of others necessitates that you define what are others, and it's very hard to do that, especially if you're going global or similar. But what you can do is look at trends. So what is happening in an industry? Are prices going generally up or generally down? Right now, because of inflation, everything is going generally up. So you're not going swimming. So that's not a good thing, because it puts pressure on our cost as well, in general as a humanity. But it's actually swimming, going with the flow. Everything is going up, so your thing is going up. So that's right now, that's not challenging. Who knows if somebody watches this show in a couple of years, I wish that will be more difficult because of that. Right. The second thing is, since we're talking about raising the price, not charging initially, we're going to have a show about that, or we probably have. But check for value change. So what exactly changed from the last time that you set the price on this, right? And in the example that I'm currently living through, which is always fun. Yeah, I always say to people you should charge more, and now I'm raising the price to part of my offer. It's about the price club. It's a support group for people who don't charge enough, basically solopreneurs. And I launched this 18 months ago, and it was $250. And from then until now, I had a couple of cohorts at that price, and nobody who went through that came out without raising their price successfully at least once without losing any clients, at least once. So I think that's more than validated now, right? And with the general inflation and stuff, I put the new prices from 250 to 330. Well, 300 euros. By the way, back then euro was almost equal to dollar. Now there's a difference. So now it's $330, and I made this as we talked before. I made this not immediate. So for anybody who is already joined, it kicks into effect after a year, well, 13 months. But anybody who joins for December, it's still going to be old price for the next year as well. And anybody who joins after the 15th of December, they have the new price. And I published this on LinkedIn, and as you saw, I got some good responses to this. So this is like a 32% increase, and nobody cares. Why? Because the value has grown much more, and there's people publicly saying, yeah, I got a lot more money out of that than just 250 or whatever, 330 a month, right? So that would be an example of value checking. Checking for value change, right? Once you see this, then you can make an engagement plan. So that means the thing that I just said. So who is going to be affected by this price change, by what time, until what time, for what reason, and so you sort all of these things out. And then two more. One is, once you set this up, ask people. So I asked a lot of my members. So you get feedback, because something might actually, a couple of things sounded better in my head than when I actually said them. I understood that they were wrong. And finally, you put this into place and you tell people, and that's it. I think these are like fundamental steps when it comes to the SWAN world of how you raise your prices.
Absolutely agree that, especially the time frame, the adaptation period. It's very important to communicate. One big mistake experts are doing, they're practically from today until tomorrow making a switch change and announcing that information, a new and upcoming change, to their respectable clients, and that is problematic. It's not about the value perspective. It's the problem in the time. So if you're already making a switch, making a change, it is okay, but give people adequate amount of time to reiterate, think about it, accept it, and go with the flow. So that is, as I said, it's fundamental thing. And also what I wanted to share with the audience, one interesting parameter. You mentioned the comparison of your price with your complementary colleagues within the industry and similar stuff. More often than not, that can be used as the self-esteem booster sometimes, especially if you have somebody as the example of person and his stage in business where you want to be, and take it as a good example and set it up as a top cap. And what you need to do to be an equivalent in terms of value proposition, in terms of infrastructure and everything what you are bringing on the table. And also following trends market-wise and complementary industry-wise, especially with professionals who are working in similar or the same field, because what is often happening? Simple example, somebody who is resolving one specific fragment of challenge for their clients and customers, and somebody else who is creating a bigger chunk in terms of value. But this guy is getting more money than the guy who is more stronger, better, maybe having better experience, but simply haven't had the previous experience with working with the ideal client profile of this respectable person. So that is something which definitely should be tackled with, play with, and addressing properly. And that can also be a good example for every expert how to set up the next step in setting the proper frame for the for raising the price. And also what I wanted to mention, one interesting thing, very important one. It is good to have a regular ongoing quarterly based, half yearly based, or yearly based survey, which will be giving you the information about where you are standing in terms of value in front of your audience, in front of your existing clients and customers, and those who are your prospects. Somebody who is engaged with you already, maybe received some glimpse of value, but don't have a full engagement with you. When I was doing my mentorship programs, I was playing with that. And I took people from various industries, various scopes in terms of their earnings, company size, etc. And it's an amazing when you see so big range of the expectations money-wise, what people are ready to pay or give to get specific value proposition. That is also interesting parameter and tool which should be used in the process, which is kind of not the prerequisite, but happening before the price raise and following infrastructure.
Okay. Yes. And I think when you said similar, it's important to realize that objectively similar and subjectively similar are not the same thing.
Yeah.
So I had a client who's a GDPR consultant, and she's a lawyer by trade. But because she does web, she usually got compared to, web people. And you pay web people way less than you pay lawyers for various reasons, so what happened is when I told her she should, make conversation at the beginning and ask, because, GDPR is a technical thing, but it's also a legal thing. So who's your lawyer? Oh, you have an outside lawyer, right? Just asking how much do you pay for his services? About that? Yeah, I don't need to know specifically. Cool. And then something else. And then when she presents her price, they say like, oh God, we that seems too much, because they're in their head, and she said, no, I'm a trained and certified lawyer. I passed the bar. What I do is a different specialty than your lawyer, but it's actually below what you said you pay for your lawyer. And then like the perspective shifts and they're like, oh, it's the balloon, you know. um so although she doesn't really do law, it's better for her if she is compared by with other lawyers, because I mean technically she is one.
Yeah.
She doesn't do what they do. She has a different specialization. But you know, why should you compare her to people who went through much less rigorous, you know, selection process and whatnot. Web people can be wonderful. I'm just saying people expect to pay them less, and that's one of the problems that we're facing here. I'm just saying it's easier if they compare you to somebody who is like your profession, although they don't really do what you do, and then vice versa, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. I think what is also important, what you told about timing. I think we told it here a bunch of times. You never want to surprise people with pricing.
Absolutely.
It's never a good idea. Even a huge discount or a discount at all. Like my experience in Dubrovnik when I was there on my honeymoon and I got a bill with a huge discount, and I was like, why? What did you do wrong? Right? And so you never want to surprise people with pricing.
Yeah.
And this is why I publicly did this. I did it through my newsletter and my LinkedIn and every channel that I have, even to people who are not currently members, especially to them, but members as well. And they know 13 months in advance. And by the time that next year comes, they will all know that it will just be an accepted fact, that, as you said. So, you know, that's a thing, that this will bump. And I have more than enough money, more than enough time to see that even the 32% bump is no big deal, because I'm making much more out of this, right? So they have 13 months of validating this, and by the time we get there, it's just going to be an afterthought.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, right.
Yeah. And the value is already placed, so
Yes.
there is no worries because of the price raise you've announced with adequate amount of time. Exactly.
Yes, exactly. I think people hurry, like you said, and you know, delay because they dread it, and then like they like pull the band-aid, rip the band-aid off. But this is an inside perspective. They dread the moment, and then they try to, you know, power through it, and like, okay, oof, now it's done. But that is taking their perspective, and only their perspective, into consideration, not the clients. Because the clients want to know as far in advance as possible, so that they can plan, and then they can talk about this. And maybe they say, listen, yeah, 6 months is nice, but that's in the middle of a summer. I'm going to have a cash pinch. Then could we possibly push it to like you know, October? And you're like, yeah, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh yeah, that makes so much sense, right? So there's enough time. So ripping the band-aid off works in so many other things, but here I think it's directly counterproductive. I think it's a really bad choice.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. Absolutely. And one add-on, which I always mention to the experts, what they can practice practically every day, it's a self-test. You position yourself now in the respectable situation and scenario. Okay, this client is calling you now and stopping the business engagement with you. How do you feel? A line of comfort, fine. Undervalued, discomfort. Based on that, you know the timing. So if you are feeling undervalued, it's the time to make a shift and change. When? Now, not tomorrow, because it's something which can happen. But if you're feeling in balance and you're feeling comfortable with it, okay, no problem. And we're not talking about money wise. Everybody needs money in that terms, but feeling undervalued. If you're feeling undervalued, that means it's time to make immediate shift and change with proper announcement. As you mentioned, time-wise, give people space to receive the value, respect the case and scenario, the shift, and go with the flow. And that's it.
Yes, I do a similar thing, but from the opposite angle. I say, I just made a deal. If I had the opportunity to make another deal like that and another deal like that immediately, would I? And then after like 6 months as well, knowing what I know about this, if somebody transported me back, would I have done the deal under those terms? And if the answer is no, change it. Right?
Exactly.
Very cool. Very cool. Is there anything else that you wanted to say on the subject of the steps?
I think we created a good circle around the topic. Yeah.
Okay. Where can people find you, Phil?
People can find me on LinkedIn and also on my mentorship page, philipzolota.com.
People can find me on fearless-pricing.com and LinkedIn, YouTube, TikTok. Basically, you can't miss me. People, thank you for being with us today, and see you next time on the SWAN Pricing Show. Bye.
See you. Take care. Bye.